God's teaching me a lot this year about just what it means to walk with somebody when a lot of times you don't have the answer. You know, I've 1 Corinthians 2:2 I have hung on all year, because there are some moments when I'm like, Jesus, I don't have anything to offer them but you. I don't want them to know Matt. I want them to know me, but God, I want them to know you more.
Hey, I'm Nate, and welcome back to another episode of the Redeemed Man Podcast. Today, we have a return guest with us. Matt Bostic was on our show, I believe about a year ago, and today he's back to share a little bit about what God has been doing in his life since then. Matt, welcome back.
Thank you, Nate. So happy to be here today.
Matt is probably the most important titles in his life are husband, dad, granddad, peepaw. But he's also the COO of Lifehouse, Alabama. And Matt, if you would just go ahead and share with our listeners, if they have not heard your previous podcast, a little bit about Lifehouse real quick.
Yeah, Lifehouse, it's a tremendous honor to be a small part of it. My wife and I here in Alabama, we've got a campus in Montgomery, Muscle Shoals, and a new campus in Birmingham for ladies. And so we've get men and women, we call them family members from all walks of life that really are just looking for a second chance in life. And they come here and they get a job with us and they work 40 hours. And then at night is when the magic happens after work. They go to a lot of classes, and everybody that comes in has a coach over them, and they do a lot of work after work to kind of rebuild their lives. And they're here typically about a year, and then they graduate. Some stay on staff with us, and some go on and God's restored their lives and gotten them that career job and mended their families, and they go back home.
Man, I so appreciate what you guys are doing, knowing that so many people are struggling with addictions, challenges that they're facing, and you guys are being hands and feet of Christ, lifting them up. Last time you were on the show, you guys were just there in the location in Montgomery. You were dreaming about what was next. Talk a little bit about how the Muscle Shoals, how this opportunity in Birmingham has unfolded, because it really is a great picture of God's faithfulness and just how he directs people to give and bless ministries like Lifehouse.
Yeah, so at the Muscle Shoals, we had a business owner up there that had a heart for prison reentry and second chances, and he owns a pallet shop, a 30-acre pallet company that had a hotel on it. And through the Church of the Highlands, we kind of all met, and we went up there and looked at it, and it ended up being just a wonderful opportunity for him to, there's kings and there's priests, and he's a king, that guy up there, and he just has a heart for Jesus and has the resources. It takes resources to do ministry. Yeah. And he offered his hotel to us, and we'll have 70 men up there. We've got about 35 right now. And in the first phase, it's completely done, but it takes time to build up the leadership, and we want to make sure we have adequate coaches for the right men that are there, and so they go to work at the pallet shop. And also that's another fun part of Lifehouse, is to work with different businesses that hire our family members. And so we've got a company called Filter Pro up there, and the community college at Shoals offers them free classes in the evenings, and so they're going to work and then going to class. And then we're a partner ministry of Church of the Highlands. They go there on Sundays and park cars and serve coffee and go through Growth Track, and that's their church home and their family. And they get baptized there and go to Freedom. And so Muscle Shoals has been an incredible opportunity. And then this past, around Christmas time in January, there's 30 acres up in Birmingham that was previously called Farm for Hope. And they had this huge heart to do this kind of work. And Pastor Mark, our CEO, was with one of the owners of that 30 acres at a conference right after Christmas. And they just got to talking. And God just kind of put us all together. And they said, why don't we turn this into a women's campus, and would Lifehouse run it? And so that's what's happened. So we've got a great director named Gina Forehand up there. She's 20 years of experience and works in the prisons every week, and she has a heart for this, and so she jumped on our team. And I was just there yesterday with them, and just a wonderful opportunity to for women to find a place, and it's secluded. It's actually in Vandiver, Alabama, and so it's kind of tucked away, 30 acres. I would retire there. It is gorgeous. I mean, it is wonderful. So anyway, very excited about that right now.
Man, that's so cool to see how God is blessing the ministry and continuing to expand the footprint of Lifehouse. And I think that's due to your faithfulness to the kingdom and just how you're not just helping people with their struggles, but you're helping people find Jesus, follow Jesus, draw close to him, and live a life that really makes a difference. And you're giving them life skills, like the ability to plug them in with work, so they're not just, focused on the program. They're doing the program and also having that opportunity to work. Because I know one of the things you've shared with me before is how that really helps them be prepared for when they go out, because they've got an account with that money that's been built up so that they're kind of set, so that they're able to pay, down payments on an apartment or something, right? Isn't that kind of part of the process?
Huge part of it. In the recovery world, money and relationships are a repeat, usually offender for relapse. And so at Lifehouse, they have their own Lifehouse checking account. So when they get paid, they see it every paycheck. But if they want to, deposit your withdraw money out of that, they go to their coach and they say, "Hey, I want to buy my kids a Christmas gift, or I want to go shopping this weekend." And we look at their account and say, "Hey, this is a good idea or it's a bad idea," But yet they pay off their fines, and when they leave, we had a graduate here in February. He had saved up $25,000 and paid off all of his fines. He had bought a truck, and he's got that career job with a little bit of a nest egg. And he did that, and God did it really in a short amount of time, really 12 months. And so those are the kind that it just makes it worth it, to see these guys and ladies surrender that. It's a big deal to say, "Hey, I'm going to let someone else control my finances," But man, the other side of it is so beautiful.
Yeah. So if there's somebody listening today and they've got some family members that they feel like, or they themselves need to reach out, where would they go to find out more about how they could apply for Lifehouse?
Yeah, they can just go to lifehouse.fm. Okay. And that's kind of the hub. It shows all the campuses. We have a women's campus in Rose Pine, Texas, and then one in Louisiana, another men's campus in Louisiana, and then Alabama. And so they can just click where they'd like to be. Some people from, even the Montgomery area, even though we have a campus here, they'll go to Louisiana because they need to get out and change their playground and friends, and change of pace and place is always a change of perspective. And so we feel like, we just say, "Hey, let's pray through this. Where should you land?" And they're not all from jail, in the court system. Some people really have just lost everything due to some poor choices and need a second chance and need maybe another career path. And so we teach all those things. We got guys that are trying to get their CDL license and their welding certificates and electrical. And so it's really fascinating when these business owners come in and partner with us and take these guys that would have no shot just walking into a business based on their past. But because of the umbrella of Lifehouse and the protection of Lifehouse, these business owners will hire them, and they become some of their best workers.
And what a kingdom model too, of the partnership together. Here are these business owners focused on providing a service, and they're able to get employees and help support their business, but then be able to give back to these guys and gals. And that's just awesome to see that partnership and these really mutual benefits. And I think so many times when Christians do it and we do it well, man, what a model it is to the world.
I tell you, we at the last graduation, we have a wonderful relationship with Sable Steel here in Montgomery. We have about 20 men that work at all 5 of the parts of their campus there. And one of the managers at Sable just wanted to see what we were about. He's employed a lot of our guys, so he came to graduation. And afterwards, I thought he had an allergic reaction. He had cried so much. He had never seen anything like that. They wear cap and gown because a lot of them have never worn that before. A lot of them haven't graduated middle school, or had any kind of ceremony. So you've got these men and women in their 30s and 40s wearing a cap and gown. it's a ceremony, and we share stories, and he saw the totality of the program and got a better understanding of how this person's wired, and it was awesome. One of my most favorite parts is graduation.
Well, Matt, you mentioned the stories, and I would love if you could share just some of the stories over this last year that you really reflect on and celebrate. Because I know, that really is, it's about transformation. What we do with helping men plug into groups, what you guys do with helping people find that freedom, it's about people taking their step to transformation. It's a process and it's a journey. And so share a little bit of some stories that have happened this last year.
Yeah, so we had a young man come in, and he was right out of prison. He had an ankle monitor on for the first half of his journey, and that alone just separates you. Even if you're in a community and you see that, it's a scarlet letter. It's separation, it's shame, and to watch him, get a new job, a fresh start, and see him go to Highlands and find Jesus and get baptized and go to work and then go work on himself after work, and then see the ankle monitor get removed and see him pay off his fines. And he's got some family up north. Once he graduated, the company that he was with for a year is helping him transfer up north, and everything's paid off. He's got money in his account. The shame has been removed. He's on fire for the Lord. And I don't know that I've ever experienced anything like what we see when that happens, the highs and the lows of it. And to watch God come in and breathe life into a dead situation. I mean, unhireable, full of shame, been incarcerated, to see him take the steps and take direction and sacrifice, and then watch God breathe into that. The miracle unfolds, and it is what drives the core values of Lifehouse.
What are those core values?
So spiritual connectivity to Jesus, right? So we want to work on their spiritual development, and then their community connection. That is, a lot of times in the recovery world, we end up isolating, and we don't like ourselves. We don't like other people. Yeah. Other people don't like us. So community connection is going to church and serving, being a part of a meal with other people after work when we all eat together, going and serving on Saturdays with the serve team. That community piece is so important. And then career advancement, finding that job. At first, we just put them anywhere after the first 14 days. Hey, we just want to see where, what you're good at. It's a job to get a better job, to get that career job. And then they go direct hire with that company a lot of times at the 6-month mark. And they roll off our staffing and go into what's called direct hire, and say Sable Steel here in Montgomery. Then they direct hire them. And we have many guys now that have graduated Lifehouse, and now their new family is Sable Steel with their own family. And they have that career job.
I think about those stories, and for me, it really does fire me up, because I think about transformation in people's lives is something that when you see it and you get to be a part of it, it just fires something inside of you, because there's so much negativity. There's so much out there that you can see, the worst in the world. And yet when you see that transformation take place, you see people take the steps and make those hard choices, it really does make you go, no, this really can happen. There really is hope for people out there that maybe feel like they're at the bottom of the barrel. And at the end of the day, we all are in that process of being changed and transformed as believers and Christ followers. We're along the journey, and some of us are maybe a little further along than others, but that at the end of the day, we've all had our rocky spots and our own rock bottoms, but there's no place that's too far gone. And I think that's the part that's just so beautiful, that no matter how far you feel like you've gone, it's not too far.
Yeah. Our director here at the Montgomery campus was facing 60 years. And just last night, we met with the task force here to help them with something. And they saw our director and they couldn't believe it. They said, "Sam, you're the director? You punched me in prison." They got in a fight.
Wow.
These two, this officer and Sam, had gotten in a fight. And to watch them now work together, no man could have ever set that
No.
up. That's just Sam put himself in a position to let Jesus guide his life and unlock doors that nobody could unlock. And you're right. I think that's why Jesus, when he walked on earth, was so adamant about, if you want to find your life, go give it away.
Yeah.
Because that's where it's at, and we teach guys here and the ladies that you have something to offer, no matter where, because we're all in process. We get people that are like, I only have 30 days of sobriety. And we remind them, do you know how many people in the world today who would love to get 24 hours of sobriety, let alone 30 days, And we tell them, ask God to put somebody in your path who's trying to get 30 days, and you give them the playbook. And that happens every time, and they can, they give that gift of 30 days away to somebody, and you just see the light bulb go off. They say in recovery that you really can't keep it unless you give it away. Yeah. You can't keep that sobriety unless you're giving it away. And so there is something very spiritual about being on mission to say, God, I want to help. What do I have to offer in my life? How can I use my pain and my story to help somebody? And that's where that purpose kicks in and the light bulb goes on, and there's nothing better.
Yeah, God buys back all that brokenness, all that pain, and begins to give a whole new story. And that which is ugly and which is broken, he begins to use as such a powerful story to impact other people. And whether it's drugs or alcohol or women or, I mean, you can name it, whatever it is, God can redeem it and he can transform it. Matt, you are doing a great work there. We're going to shift a little bit because one of the things is you love what you're doing, but you love basketball too. It is in who you are. You world record earlier in life, 3-point shots, right?
Yes.
And then now, so this past year, talk about the opportunity you've had with a G League team and what you've learned about professional basketball.
So I got a phone call this year from my old college coach, who was just a spiritual mentor to me since 1993, until today. I talked to him this morning on the phone, and he is actually the head of Athletes in Action basketball nationally, and Team USA for the NBA when they go play in the Olympics. He's their chaplain, and so he kind of helps oversee a lot of the NBA teams, and they all have a chapel program that's really player driven. If they've got a couple players on the team that love the Lord or have a faith background, and a lot of times they ask for a chaplain to come in and meet with them. And so they started that at the G League level, which is the level right below the NBA. Every NBA team has a G League team, kind of like the minor league baseball model. And in Birmingham, the squadron or the G League or the G League team for the NBA team, the Pelicans. And so they wanted a chaplain for the Birmingham squadron, and coach called me and asked me if I would want to do it. And so I said, sure. He said, it's going to be very organic. You're going to have to grow this from the ground up. They've never had one before. And, Nathan, those kind of things fire me up, man. I love to go plant new ground. And I love the game of basketball, being from Indiana. And so I went up there in November, and it was really life-changing to walk with those men all year. The G League is very hard. Nobody wants to be there. A lot like Lifehouse, no one is like, day one is so fired up to be in a 1-year program where you're going to be told what to do in every area of your life, and in the G League, they all want to be in the NBA, and so they know that their performance tonight on the court, could be the life-changing moment when that NBA team says, hey, I want to call you up. Yeah. And so that dynamic alone, I was fascinated and with them, and the Birmingham squadron have a wonderful staff, fell in love with everybody in their organization. And so 1 hour before tip-off, underneath the stadium in their locker room in one of those areas, we have a 15-minute chapel service where you just, share a couple verses or whatever God puts on your heart, and the players share and you pray with them. And but it's what happens afterwards is so fun, just watching their journey and developing relationships with some of the guys. And, them calling after a game when they're on a road trip in Milwaukee saying, I'm really struggling. All my expectations aren't being met. I want to be in the league. And just being able to have the privilege to pray with them I'm a safe spot for those guys.
Yeah.
You know, I care about their stats, but I care about their soul way more. And they know that they can call and vent, and I can pray for them. And then, almost like graduation at Lifehouse, when one of the players gets called up to the NBA and you hear them after the game tell me what it was like to put on the NBA jersey for the first time. And there's a monetary difference, too, when they get up there. They get paid really well for a 10-day contract. And it's fascinating. Again, I'm so thankful to be a part of it, just to be with them and the highs and the lows of it. God's teaching me a lot this year about just what it means to walk with somebody when a lot of times you don't have the answer.
Yeah.
You know, I've 1 Corinthians 2:2 I have hung on all year, because there are some moments when I'm like, Jesus, I don't have anything to offer them but you. I don't want them to know Matt. I want them to know me, but God, I want them to know you more. Because, you know, it's in all of us. When you go into those kind of arenas and those kind of situations, it's not, it's not for everybody, but these are big time athletes. And every day up on the way up there, I'd say, God, I need them to know you. Please remove any, because I love basketball, right? And I want to go shoot with them. And I'm like a kid in a candy store. It's an unpaid position. A lot of them are like, why would you drive up here 2 hours for every game, stay 2 hours after? And it's because I love it. I would obviously do it for free because it's just so fun. But 2 Corinthians 2, I've prayed that when Paul said, I have resolved to know nothing while I was with you except Jesus Christ himself crucified. And it makes me emotional because that a lot of times I don't have answers for their pain, here at Lifehouse. I don't for these guys that I clearly think they should be up in the NBA and they're struggling, and just to say, God, but thank you. I know you have a perfect plan for them. And thank you that what you did on the cross was enough for every area of our life. And in that, you can just unpack so much. And so that verse has meant a lot to me this year, that I love to use the word resolved. I've resolved to know nothing but Jesus, because the layers of shame that some of these guys carry around is unfathomable to try to, as a fixer, you want to fix it. And a lot of times, it always goes back to, but Jesus can, and I'm so thankful for that.
Do you have a favorite moment from this past year with the guys?
I do. I have a couple, but probably one was Trey Jemison. He played at UAB, and then he went to the Pelicans. He's 6'10", full of energy, and just loves the Lord. And he was going through early in the season, was going through a real hard time. He knew he could play better. And there's a lot of pressure on that, man. Your performance is so tied to getting to the next level. And he was really struggling. And then he got the phone call. There was an injury. Something happened with the Washington Wizards, and they called him. And he got to go up there, and then he's playing so well. And then he got traded from the Washington Wizards. Now he's with the Memphis Grizzlies, and he's starting. He led them in scoring and rebounds last night in the NBA. And just months before, I was with him, and really he was in a depression, thinking, is this even worth it? But he just held on to the Lord and held on to what he knows is true, and kept doing all the things that he could control, and I watched God take him and move him up and reward that faithfulness. And now to see him up there starting in the NBA, he sent me a text last night late that said, your prayers and the prayer group that are praying for me behind the scenes mean more to me than any paycheck. And that meant the world to me.
I'm sure of that. So with that, are you pulling for Memphis, or you have a favorite NBA team, or like where are you at right now with all that, with having these guys?
Man, they're like family to me. So wherever they go, I go. I'll be at the Pelicans game, my wife and I, Sunday night, again with another player that, he's in process for the Lord, and he invited us and his girlfriend to go to dinner after the game, and we're going to get a chance to just love on him. And so wherever these guys go, I'm a fan, because I love them and their journey, and I want to see them make it, because I know who they are behind the scenes, and I know how hard this is. And so man, you just can't help but love it. I've never looked at as many box scores as I have in my life. And when I can't get the game, I'm on the game cast watching him get rebounds. Trey blocked Wembenyama last night from San Antonio, So I'm watching the Spurs and the Grizzlies at 11 o'clock at night, fully engaged, and how's my center doing, because I love his heart and I know what it's going to mean to him and his family and the platform that he could have for Jesus. So, man, it's exciting.
Matt, your excitement alone is contagious. The people who know your energy and love for life. But you mentioned caring for these guys, and you also have your team at Lifehouse and the guys you interact with. How do you, as someone who is consistently giving, consistently allowing people to be able to reach and touch you, how do you guard your own time to make sure that you're not putting out more or putting yourself in a place where, just like the Corinthians, that it's Jesus you're pointing them to, not Matt's solution? Because I think there's a battle for a lot of guys, if they are caring for people, how do they do that where they not giving so much that it's wearing them down?
Yeah, it's probably the hardest thing to keep in check because since, it's been 5 years since God's rebuilt my life, and I'm able to breathe again and do some things I could have never have done when I was stuck in my own sin and in shackles, And so, Nathan, I have a great CEO shepherd that's over me in my life, Pastor Mark. And he set some boundaries early on that were healthy, and we meet every week, and he makes sure that, that I'm home 3 nights a week, that I've put in my calendar a month and ahead of time. I'm going to be home with my family, 3 nights a week. My wife and I are going to go on a date, once a week. And so unchecked, those things, when those things aren't being done, then you're right. You've got nothing else to give. And man, you start leading and not Jesus, and that's the hard part. But I'm so thankful for a boss, a shepherd that loves me, that cares for me, that checks on me weekly, texts me daily, and understands the importance and what we do, especially in the recovery world. He calls it special forces of ministry because it is hard to not take on all their stories. And I was terrible at it early on because I couldn't sleep at night. I'm taking all these stories and pain, to my heart, and I couldn't sleep, couldn't turn it off. And he started teaching me this rhythm of life to stay healthy, to have longevity in this. And it's been a game changer to honestly, last year we were getting ready to go on a vacation, and for the first time in my life, had never been this busy, but had never been this refreshed going on a vacation because of the rhythms that he had set for my family. And so I'm forever grateful for the leader that he is and how he's poured into my life, and I'm thankful to be under his spiritual authority. It's a gift, bro. It's a gift.
Great reminder for all leaders. We all need someone to shepherd us. And so many times I think people feel like, well, I just don't know who that is, or I don't feel like I have anybody. Well, you better go find somebody because there's some people out there.
Yeah, and if it all went away and I owned Lifehouse, I would go find a boss tomorrow. I would go find someone to be over me because there's so much. I've just reaped the benefit of that. I love it. And, we've got to find time to have the permission to have a day where we don't do anything productive. We let Jesus just be king that day. And it's so hard. But, with my staff, our guys, the day before it's their day off, I want them to prep for that day off like it's the 4th of July or Christmas, or we get excited about them getting away. And I want them to have the freedom to go rest and be with the Lord and don't produce anything, man. Just go do something you love and get refueled. And I didn't have that early on in ministry. Wasn't taught that. I don't think it's anybody's fault. It's just, it's hard to do. It's hard to model. And so thankfully, Pastor Mark has modeled that so well for me, and I am passing that on to the ones that God's entrusted under my care, that, hey, man, you're going to work really hard, but you're going to work really hard at having a day off and get passionate and good about it. And I think they're doing a great job.
Excellent. Excellent word for all of us. Back to the basketball. So I know your love for basketball, and you've managed to marry that with Lifehouse. So tell us a little bit about something you guys have coming up in September.
Yeah, so September 20th, We are, and I do love basketball. I love to shoot basketball. That was my thing when I was struggling when I was little. I would go out to the back and just shoot for hours. And in the middle of my addiction, as when I set that first world record, like Forrest Gump started running, I started shooting and I shot for 24 hours straight. And so I've always loved it. And so in September, we want to do something called the Shoot for Life House Challenge. And kind of like the ice bucket challenge that went viral years ago, instead of dumping ice on one another and talking about the cause, we want to shoot that day. And we're trying to make 1 million buckets around the world and just say, hey, I'm shooting for Lifehouse. I'm shooting for men and women that need a second chance in life, and just bring awareness to that by the simple game of basketball and shooting hoops. And my son and I are going to shoot for 24 hours straight that day and try to make as many free throws as possible in 24 hours and set a father-son world record. He's 19 now. He'll be 19 the day that we do it, actually. And so
That's great.
Be fun to train together. And we're going to be in a lot of prisons this summer. We're going to be in 7 prisons in Nebraska looking for the best shooters, and several in Alabama. And again, just trying to do something that we love to do, but doing it for somebody else, And I think that's really the heartbeat of purpose, is finding what you love to do and do that thing and do it blessing other people. And it's a recipe for wanting to get out of bed in the morning. It's a recipe for saying, I don't even want to go to sleep tonight. I don't want to miss a minute of life right now. And when you can get into that groove, it's life-changing. And then, you just want to give that away. And so we're super pumped. September 20th, we're going to get as many people. I mean, I'm probably going to be impossible to be around this summer, because I'm going to, hey, do you shoot? Do you have a hoop? Can you find one? September, just turn your camera on, say, I'm shooting for Lifehouse. And we want to get that word out and just put second chance on people's mind that day using the game of basketball.
Do you have a hashtag or something people tag you guys, or how would that look as far as if you're going to share on social, or is there a way that people can find out more as it gets closer?
Yeah, well, I'll put that on there. I think it's going to be hashtag like Lifehouse 2024, something simple and small. We don't have it perfect yet because I'm not a hashtag world guy. Yeah. My daughters were telling me, Dad, that's not going to work, your idea. So I'm getting some wisdom on that. But we'll definitely post that the way they can just hashtag it and everybody go to a site and see it. It's going to take a lot of hands to make 1 million shots that day.
Yes, it will take a lot of hands. But how cool is that you get to do it with your son? I mean, what a special moment for the time in Nebraska. And then as you guys go into this challenge, what a memory you will have with him.
Yeah, he was in my wife's belly the first time that I broke the 3-point record. So he's named Trey. Everybody thinks he's the 3rd kid. He's really the 4th. But he's named after the 3-point record because that was the first time, Nathan, that I did something that I didn't feel like I could do. And I was running from the Lord, and then I broke this world record. In the middle of it, God reminded me that you're trying so hard to get into this Guinness Book of World Records. You're in the Lamb's Book of Life, Matt, and you don't have to earn that. And I had this clarity moment in this world record being in the book thing where Jesus said, hey, my way is easier, Matt. It's by faith, not by works. And this book of the Guinness Book of World Records will burn up one day. And if you're in the Lamb's Book of Life, Matt, you're protected and you're going to live eternally. And so I've used that as a platform in prisons and schools. And I mean it. It's what's changed my life is that, man, no matter what, I am eternally secured in Jesus because of what he's done for me on the cross. And the Lamb's Book of Life means a lot more to me today than the Guinness Book. And I use that to turn people towards Jesus as much as I can.
Using every means possible to reach as many people possible, right? Same as Paul.
Absolutely.
Every means possible. Well, the last thing I'd like to talk about is something that I don't know that we've actually talked to a guest about, but you're not only a father, you're a grandfather as well. Yeah. And talk a little bit about the joy that that's brought you. I mean, I've not yet met someone that is present in their grandkids' life that doesn't just glow when they talk about them.
Yeah.
But I know it has special meaning for you, even with your journey to recovery.
Yeah, my daughters are my best friends today. And there was a time I thought that would never be possible. And my oldest daughter, Leah, has 2 kids, Rowan and Crew, and they're 4 and 2. And we had the opportunity to have them this weekend. They do. My daughter and her husband have a a wedding video company. And so they got married right out of high school and started this company. And man, they've been doing it now 5, 6, 7 years. And so they were the first ones to have kids. And so Rowan's 4 and Crew is 2. And to be able to know that my grandkids have never seen me pick up a drink is a miracle. And there was a time when I thought my daughters would never give me the permission to watch their kids. And, like I said earlier, my daughters are some of my best friends today. And my middle daughter, Olivia, had a baby girl, Gabby, her and her husband, Kevin. They actually live next door to us. And so it has unlocked a level in my heart that I didn't know was there, to be a grandparent, to watch my kid's kid. We have the smorgasbord of life right now. I still have a 10 and 12-year-old and 19-year-old at the house. I've got 3 married daughters. And but that's only possible because of Jesus. And those grandkids, when I get to spend time with them, is such a gift. Little Gabby, and I took Rowan fishing Saturday, and we caught this snapping turtle, and I didn't know that there was that much love possible. And God has just put another level in my heart, has unlocked it, and it is absolutely the best. To be with them and to do life, watching my kids, take them to church, and man, the legacy that of Jesus, you just want that to be a part of it, and to see it is a gift, because a lot of people I know don't have that, and God chose to have grace on my life, and man, I love them. We vacation together. I mean, my wife and I can't even go to Florida because they'll show up, and I love it. I absolutely love it, because they know mom and dad's going. We want to be together, and that's just a God thing, man. I give all the credit to the Lord for His grace, and man, you'll know it one day when you see your kid's kid and you get to hold him. He kind of looks like you, and I don't know. There's just something about that is supernatural, and I am so thankful to have that perspective of it and the opportunity to do it. I'll be 50 in December, so I'm praying I get some more years to see more grandbabies, but it is life-changing. I got to take Rowan to a squadron game, and so here's my 4-year-old sitting next to me courtside watching basketball players, and man, I love them. Love them to death.
Well, you look 40, if that's any comfort to you. So you should have at least another 50, 60 more.
Come on. I'll take it.
When I've seen you, last time we actually ran into you was at a youth conference, and you were investing in your kids there. And I know you're a phenomenal dad, phenomenal granddad. Is that a challenge with having kids at home and then kids out of the home and grandkids, and that balance? Because I would think at times that could be a little challenging with the different seasons.
Oh, yeah. My 10-year-old the other day said, "Hey, Dad, don't forget about us." Because I had my grandkids and it was time for dinner. I said, "Hey, man, just go heat something up." He said, "Hey, you're still a dad." I said, "I'm retired from being dad, man. I just want to be peepaw. I don't want to be dad now." But it is a challenge, because my 10 and 12-year-old need me, and Andrea, but we have grandkids, and we have Lifehouse kids and NBA. So it has been a challenge to balance all of that, and to be able, like we said earlier, to pour out, and to have a wife that's your best friend has been just a game changer. We could never do this if we weren't both called to it. She works at Lifehouse every day with me, and we're called to this. The first half of my ministry, I did it alone. She wasn't on staff, and so I didn't, it was just a different thing. It was ministry was Matt's, and then there was home life. But now, through the grace of God and incredible, again, leadership, we've learned how to marry the two. And Andrew and I are both called to this equally, or it would never work. She's as passionate about Lifehouse as I am. And so, and our grandkids, and our kids. And so, together, it works because she's called to it. And I could never do it. I would be miserable without a spouse, a partner that didn't feel called to this. I couldn't do it. But we feel called together, and it makes it so much fun. We're going to go away together this weekend, and We're just being intentional about getting away and staying in love, and then modeling that for our kids. And again, if you'd asked me 6 years ago if this was possible, I'd have said no way. But God has given me a life that's far beyond my wildest imagination, because of his grace and mercy. And if anybody's listening today and they feel like there's no way that could happen for me, I can tell you that it can, and it will. A day at a time of just saying, God, I'm going to clear the runway for you to show up. And I tell you, if you'll just clear the runway and just be still and know that he is God and let him come in, and he will change your life. And to walk with him in that has been so sweet, because it is hard too. As many stories that we have that are wonderful, there's some things too that I've never thought that I could survive or carry a family through as well, Nathan, and it gets really heavy.
No, thank goodness for the grace of God to get us through it. And it's amazing what he does, and yet we still face a lot of heartache in this broken world. A reminder for our need and for our longing for an eternal home that removes all that sadness and all that pain. And I don't know about you, but I think sometimes the more you are aware of that, the more you're aware of that longing inside of us that God's created for us to long for him to make all things right. We get to bring as much as we can to this earth while we can, but to know that one day he's going to set it all right is an amazing promise, and it gives us a lot of hope and comfort in situations that can be really dark.
And I think we need to talk about heaven more. As believers, we don't. And that is what God's setting this whole thing up for. And to have an eternity of him and good things and the things that we love, just to never stop, And I think the ploy of the enemy is to keep us busy enough and distracted to not think about those things and just think about the things that are, not happening that's right in our life or whatever. And in the cross, there's so much more for this life, but then, in eternity, that he's going to make it right. And man, when we get that perspective, I know the enemy hates it, because then we can get through anything, because we're just waiting for him to show us the real picture. Oh, that's why. I love it. I love that eternal perspective, man.
Thank you for the eternal work you're doing. Again, we have not been able to interact a lot in person, but I truly consider you a friend, a partner in ministry, and the Redeemed is so thankful for Lifehouse, for the Bostics, for what you guys do, and just an honor to have you back on the show. Look forward to having our guests be able to be a part of the challenge and shoot with you guys in September. That's going to be awesome. I am not much for basketball, but my wife is, and so I know she'll be ready to pick up a basketball.
We don't have to show the rim. We can just show you shooting. You do a great job, too, on the podcast, man. We love it. You have great guests, and you do such a good job of setting the story up, and I've enjoyed watching every one of the guests come on and hear their stories. I love, just to listen to how, God's worked in different people's lives, and truly is a miracle to see, man, just what he can do, and you guys do a fantastic job. I was so honored when you called and said I could be on it with you guys again, man. So cool.
Well, thank you so much. Appreciate your time, and we look forward to hearing much more about what's happening at Lifehouse, but also in your life, man. It's just a pleasure every single time we connect. God bless, and the best is yet to come.
Absolutely. Thank you, buddy.